Okay, good morning. So today we will discuss how to get the proportional allocation and the equal allocation. So for today's discussion, I have here a example of the allocation and how to get it. So this is our example. We have for the strata, we have class A, class B, class C, and this is the number of families. Sa class A, meron tayong 1,000. Sa class B, meron tayong 1,500. Sa class C, meron tayong 2,500. And our N would be 5,000. And our margin of error for this example would be 0.05 or the 5% margin of error. So, to calculate the percent, we have to divide our number of families to the N. Okay, so that would be 1,000 divided by 5,000. Okay, tanggalin muna natin. So, to get the percent, we have to divide the class to the total number, which is N, or the 5,000. So, that would be 1,000. That will be 1,000. That will be 1,000 divided by 5,000. So, the answer would be 0.20 or 20%. Or 20%. And then next, we have, okay. So for the percent here, we have 20%, or the 0.20. And next, we have 1,500 divided by 5,000. That would be 0.030 or 30%. Okay, and then for the last number, we have 2,500 divided by 5,000, which is the N. That would be equal to 0.50 or 50%. Okay, so we just had to divide the number of families over sa total over N, and then we can get the percent. So for the column, second column, that would be 30%. And the third, that would be 50%. And now for our third column, that would be the proportional allocation. How we can get the proportional allocation. Okay, so in getting the proportional allocation, what we have to do is to multiply the percent times the sample size. Okay, so in multiplying, we have to get first the sample size of this example. So how can we get the sample size of this example? So the formula for the sample size would be, okay, the formula for the sample size would be N equals N. That would be N over 1 plus N E squared. So this will be, okay, mali tayo na sulat. Okay, tas ilagay natin sa taas banda kasi magsisolve tayo. Okay, N over N 1 plus N E squared. So this will be our formula for the sample size. So now we have to substitute the given into our formula. So N is equals to, in our example here, our N is equals to 5,000 pesos. So we have to substitute this N to 5,000. So that will be 5,000 divided by or over 1 plus, we have our N 5,000, and our E. What is our E? Our E is our margin of error for our example. So as I've said earlier, the margin of error for this example would be 0.05 or 5%. So we are going to write here the 0.05 squared. So that this is So, meron tayong 5,000 divided by 1 plus 5,000. And then we have the margin of error 0.05 here. And then the squared. Okay. So, after that, okay, ulitin natin ako saan galing yung 5,000. Dito sa n sa example, the n. Okay, saan galing yung 0.05? That will be our margin of error. Okay, on the example. So, proceed to our... Okay, so 5,000. 1 plus 5,000. Okay, 0.05 squared would be equal to 0.0025. Okay, proceed. So 5,000. 0.0025 times 5,000 would be equal to 12.5. So we have here 5,000. 1 plus 12.5 would be 13.5. $5,000 divided by 13.5 would be 370.37, or I round off, that would be 370. So 370 would be our sample size. Would be the sample size for our example. So 370 ang ating sample size. Okay. So erase muna natin yung ating sample size. So meron na tayong 370 doon. $370. Okay, isulat muna natin ulit. Okay, for our strata, we have the number of families. We have the percent. Ganito na lang. We have the proportional allocation. And also the equal allocation. Okay, so normal tayo, kaya hindi pantay yung ating linya. Okay, so for the strata, we have the class A, which have the number of families of 1,000. For the class B, we have number of families of 1,500. For the class C, we have the number of families, which is 2,500. Okay. Kasi natin itong sobra. Wait lang. Mas maganda. Habaan natin para mas maganda. Lagyan natin ng space para mas malinaw mamaya. Okay, so it's class A ulit. Class A, we have the class B, dito na isulat. And the class C, para mas malinaw. Okay, so lagyan muna natin ng the percent and the strata. Okay. Ayusin natin. Okay. So ayan na. Lagyan tayo ng space para sa ating n. Okay, our n is equals to 5,000 with the margin of error of 0.05. Okay, as we said earlier, our class A number of families is 1,000. Class B number of families is 1,500. Class C number of families is 2,500. That would be equal to the 5,000 here. Okay, so the percent, we have to divide 1,000 to 5,000. That would be equal to 20%, or 0.02. Diba kanina? 20% is 0.2. 0.20. The 1,500 is equals to 30%, or 0.30. And the 2,500 divided by 50, that would be 50%, or 0.5. 0.50. That would be our percent for the example. So to get the proportional allocation, what we have to do is multiply the percent to our sample size. Okay, so our percent here is 0.20 times our sample size, which is 370, as we solved earlier. So that would be equal to 74. So our proportional allocation for class A would be 74. And for the class B, we have to get the percent, which is 0.30 dito, times our sample size, which is 370. So 0.30 times 370 would be equal to 111. So that is the proportional allocation for our class B. For the class C, our percent would be 0.50 multiplied by the sample size of 370. So that would be equal to 185. Okay, so that's how we get the sample size of our example. So our n here would be 370. Okay, for the equal allocation, what we have to do is divide our sample size into kung ilang strata meron tayo. For example, sa ating example, meron tayong tatlong strata, which is the class A, class B, and the class C. So tatlo. What we have to do para sa equal allocation is divide our sample size into these stratas. So we have 3, so that would mean 370 divided by 3. Okay, so that would be 370 divided by 3. So that is the equal allocation. Divided by 3, kasi meron tayong strata. So meron tayo ditong 123 para sa ating equal allocation. So that would be goes same for our third class. So sa class A meron tayong 123, sa class B we have 123 ulit, and sa class C we have the 123. So that's how we compute the proportional allocation and the equal allocation.